Okay, that's going. And let's go ahead and pull up the book and see what we're going to go over today in 6.5. 6.5. I think that's variation. Should be variation. And 2 or 3 days later, it's variation. That's what I thought it was. What is variation? Variation is basically, well, I'll explain to you what it is. And let's go here, and there, and there. What is variation? Well, let me ask y'all a question. And this is going to be a real simple question. And y'all going to blurt the answer out. And you're going to say, oh, I know how to do that. Let's say that I have a recipe for cookies. And that recipe for cookies makes exactly 2 dozen cookies. So my recipe for cookies, cookie recipe, I don't know how to spell recipe, I hope that's it, makes 24 cookies. And that's 1 cup of sugar, 3 eggs, 1 cup of flour, and half a cup of butter. Now, I know more things go into it, but I'm just giving you some ingredients so we can say what to do if we want so many cookies. So I tell you, now don't blurt out the answer because everybody's going to know the answer, but I'm going to ask you, how did you get that answer? Let's say we wanted to make 48 cookies. Well, everybody in here would say, all you got to do is just double it. Yeah, but how did you get double? Where did you get that double from? How did you get 2? And? Okay. 24 times 2, it's a multiplier. So basically, I would multiply 24 by 2, and that gives me what? 48. So if I multiply this by 2, then I need to multiply what? Everything by 2. So that'd be 2 cups of sugar. Be how many eggs? 6 eggs. 2 cups of flour. And what? 1 cup of butter. Alright? So, what if I say that I want you to make 58 cookies? Well, if I tell you to make 58 cookies, y'all will sit there and stare at it for 15 minutes. Not 1.5. Because it may not be 1.5. The best way, let me just tell you this. The best way to get a multiplier, and you can write this down. The best way to get a multiplier, and that XCR, that means multiplier, is to divide what you want by what it makes. So, to make 48 cookies, you would take 48 and divide by what? 24. And what would that give you? 2. There's your multiplier. So if I want 58 cookies, I divide it by 24. And let's do it, I don't want a decimal because a decimal's not gonna help me. 24, both divisible, both of these are divisible by what? 2, that'd be 29 over what? 12, y'all check me. And 29 over 12, that's almost 1.5, you're about right. Take that 12, divided in there, 24 and 5/12. I'm sorry, 2 and 5/12, I don't know what I'm thinking of. 2 and 5/12, which 2 and 5/12 is almost what? 2.5. Now, how would you multiply that by this? Well, you take 5 divided by 12. Somebody do that with your calculator. What do you get? 5 divided by 12. You should be like 0.45 or something. 0.416. 0.42. So 2.42. So take 2.42 and multiply it by 6 eggs. What do you get? What do you get? Huh? What? I didn't hear you. 2.4 times 6. 2.4 is 2 times 6. What do you get? Huh?
14.4.
So you'd have to put 14 eggs. I'm sorry. Times 3. I'm sorry. 2.42 times 3. What did you get? 2 times 3 is 6. 7. You would use 7. What did you say? 7.26. So you'd have to use 2.5 eggs, basically. But you couldn't. So you just, what you would probably do is just raise everything up 2.5, like you said. But the whole point is, I don't care about that, all right? All I care about is that you get this guy right here. Now, what is this called? This guy right here is called a multiplying factor. What does a multiplying factor do? It's a number that lets you get what you need. All right? Here, I have 24 cookies. The multiplying factor for 48 is what? 2. The multiplying factor for 58 is what? All right, what if I wanted to make 75 cookies? Well, you take 75, somebody take 75 and divide it by 24. What do you get? 3.1 is your multiplying factor for 75 cookies. You see what I'm getting at? If I want 100 cookies, you take 100 and divide by 24. What would you get? So that'd be close to 4.7, 4.6, 4.7. So a multiplying factor, if you find the multiplying factor, then you can make however many cookies you want. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay, y'all time decided. Anyway, direct or variation does that. Variation basically uses a multiplying factor, and the multiplying factor is called K. Remember that, K. Multiplying factor to help obtain a result. All right? Direct variation, inverse variation, and joint variation. That's what you're going to be studying in this section. Now, these three are all going to be given in the question. In other words, it'll say y varies directly as x, y varies inversely as x, y varies jointly as x. It will tell you what to do. You have to look for it. So these three, inverse, direct, and joint, they will be in the question. Direct variation is y equal to k times x. Inverse variation is y equal to k over x. And joint variation is y is equal to k x, and you can use z or w, you can use whatever you want to. These are all on page, let me tell you what page you're on so you'll have it. They got them listed all on one page. Hold on. Okay, whatever. Okay, they're on different pages, but there's one page that's got all of them on it, and I was going to find that page for you. Thank you. No, it's got all of them.
320 and 321, that's direct variation.
Okay, keep going. Like 323 or 324.
Is on 322, and joint variation is on 323.
Yeah, but there's one page that's got them all on it. There they are. Page 324. There they are. Thank you. Whoever said that. You're wrong. Page one. I'm just kidding. All right, y is equal to k times x, y is equal to k over x, and y is equal to kx. I use z, I use w, it don't matter, I don't care. The only thing that you need to care about is k. I'm going to highlight this red. That means that you need to take a highlighter out and highlight something. K, hold on, let me just do it this way. K, K, K. K does not change. Write that down somewhere. K does not change. The other variables will change depending on what the question asks for. K does not change. So make sure you make a note of that, because I don't want anybody getting the wrong answer because of that. And I don't want that either, but okay. I guess I'll just have to take what I can get. All right, so you might want to change this W, change it to Z if you want to. It's going to change anyway. All right, so these are the three formulas you're going to use, or a mixture of one or more. We'll get to that when we get there. What kind of questions will you have? Well, the first type question, you'll be asked to plug and chug. In other words, you'll be asked to plug in K and X, or you'll be asked to plug in KX and Z, or you'll be asked to plug in X and Z and Y and find K, or you'll be asked to. In other words, they're going to ask you to plug and chug. The second type is to plug and chug first and find K next. All right, that's your second type of question. Third type question is plug and chug, find K, and plug K back in. Okay, that's your third type. And then the last type is for number 3 and more info. And I'll tell you what more info stands for when we get to that problem. Okay, so write those down, because those are going to be the 4 type questions that you're going to have. And on the test, I will just ask you number 4, and I'll say either inverse, direct, or joint, or a mixture of the two. So out of all these questions, the one that you'll get on a test is like number 4. So when I tell you there's a test question, just like I told you with yesterday's, that question about the fence perimeter, that's your test question, because there's not a lot of questions in there to choose from because it's such a short section. All right? They'll give you a question like this. Y varies directly as x, period. X is equal to 4 and k is equal to 7. Find y. Alright, so which one are we going to use? Are we going to use y is equal to k times x, y is equal to k over x, or y is equal to kxz? Which one are we going to use? Which one are we going to use? The first one, because it's direct. So I'll go y is equal to k times x. What do they give us? They give you x and what? And k. So what do you do? Plug and chug. Y is equal to 7 times 4, which is what? And that's your answer. So that's your first type problem. Plug and chug. Y'all should be able to do those on homework without any problem. Because we did that at the beginning of chapter 6. With evaluate and determine. Those are real simple. How about another one? Y varies directly as x, period. Y is 42. X is 12. Find k. All right, do that one. Excuse me for a minute. My nose is falling. about that. My mother had to go get a prescription for her sister, and she didn't know where the drugstore was. So I'm sorry. All right, and then I had to look it up because I'm not familiar with the drugstore because everybody these days uses Walgreens or CVS. So anyway, all right, which one are we going to use? Y is equal to what? K times X. Now what? 42 is equal to K times what? 12. Now what? Divide by what? 12. And K, somebody do that on your calculator. 3.5. Now, this is the second type question to find K. The third type question, where it says put K back in, just take this and say Y is equal to 4.2, or what was it? 3.5, sorry. 3.5 times X. Okay, this is like type question number 4. And this is type question number 5. Number 3. This one is find K. And this one is once you find K, what do you do with it? Plug it back in. Huh? Okay, 2 or 3, I'm sorry. This is 2 and this is 3? Okay. 3 and 2. Now we're going to do a different one before we move on to number 4. I'm going to give you another one. Here's another type of question. It's like here and here, but there's something I didn't put in there. Yeah, I did. I said K never changes. R varies inversely as S. Find K when R is 70 and S is 2. All right, do that one. Well, Hubert, we don't have a formula with R and S in it. No, but you have a formula with what? Y is equal to what?
K over X.
Y is equal to K over X. Well, I don't have Y and X. So, which way do we read? Left to right, right? So what comes first? Y or X? When we read left to right. Which way do we read here? So Y is going to change to what? You were right, Ms. Bates. I was pointing at you. To what? R. And then S will change to what? X will change to S. Well, why don't you change K? K never changes. Never. So, we rewrite it as R is equal to K over S. Now we plug and shove. R is what? 70. K over 2. So what is K? Huh? K is 140. So now I rewrite my equation right there as what? R is equal to what? 140 over S. So you have two answers here. Here's the first answer for one type question. There's one answer. In other words, they might ask you just for K. And then they may ask you for the variation. This is the variation right here. It'll say find the variation. There's the variation, and this is just K. So you have to read the question and see what they're asking you. All right, let's try one out of your homework. And that way we can see number 4, because I don't want to try to make up number 4, because when I make up questions, sometimes they don't go entirely like I planned. So we'll just look at your homework. Or we'll look at one of the ones in the book. I don't care. No, I don't want to mix them yet. Don't want to bog you down before we get started. So let me just go look at the homework. Let's go to... I'll be all right, people. I'll be all right. I took medicine this morning. There we go. Okay, I don't want to do that one yet. Okay. No. I don't want to do that one yet. Well, let's see what it says. Okay. It says, use the statement below to complete the following. A. Write the variation equation of H varies directly as... No, that's mixing it again. I don't want to do that. Varies inverse, don't want to do that one either. Okay, here we go. Write the variation, that means the equation, and find the quantity indicated. R varies directly as S. We just did one like this. Find R when S is equal to 4 and K is equal to 3. What type question is this? 1, 2, 3, or 4? 1. You're just finding R. So this is just plug and chug. So go ahead and do it. R varies directly as S. Find R when S is equal to 4 and K is equal to 3. So R is equal to what? R is equal to K times what? S. Find R when S is equal to 4 and K is equal to what? 3. So what is R? 12. So this is a type 1. This is one like just plug and chug. I don't want to put the mixed ones in yet, and they have them. No, that's number 5. That's like number 4. That's like number 4 too. They must have gave it to you up in here. They give you all the easy stuff, and then they throw you amongst the wolves and give you a bunch of hard stuff. That's the number 1. And then they jump to number, let's see, use the very inversely as the square of n. So, all right, let me go ahead and go to this because they take about 3 steps and then they jump over those 3 steps. I want you to look and I want you to highlight in red that right there. Highlight that. It says varies inversely. H varies inversely as the square of n. Now, when you see the square of Now, I really don't like that wording because what do you think of when you say square of? I think of square root of. All right? I don't like that. So this is what I tell students. When you see that in this section, you need to make a note that that means something to the square. Do not do square root. All right? So as the square of n is equal to n squared. All right, make that note because I don't want you to put the radical. That's what I would think of if I was doing this. Now, h varies inversely as the square of n. Well, first of all, inversely means what? Y is equal to what? K over x. All right, let's go ahead and change our letters, or I'm sorry, variables. H and what? N. H is equal to K over N. Now we've changed our variables, so that takes care of that, takes care of that, takes care of the N. But what is left? The square of. So what do we got to do with N? We got to square it. And that is one of these guys. Well, it's not this guy because that's not inverse. That's not inverse because inverse is dividing. So it's only one of these two guys. Which one is it? Yeah, it looks like C. So that's that. So we answer that question, and then we go on to the next question, which is plugging and chugging. All right? So, H is equal to K over N squared. And what is what? What do they give us? They give us N is equal to 3. I'm sorry, that's supposed to be N. Oh, this is supposed to be N. H is equal to 9 over N cubed, which is 3 squared, sorry. So what is H? H is equal to 1. 3 squared is not 6. That's what some people say 3 squared is. 3 squared is 9. And H is equal to 1. And that's how you do that type. That's the type, this plugging and chugging is still plugging and chugging. The only difference here is the type 1, but the only difference here is that square of. Y'all need to make that note. All right, this one says B varies jointly as C and H. Determine B when blah, 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 blah. All right, do that one. B, I'll blow it up for you, varies jointly as C and H. Do it. This is a type 1. You don't have to do anything but plug and chug. All right, so what do we do? Well, first of all, we write down what what formula are we going to use? Y is equal to Kx what? Z. Now what tells us that? Right there. So we got that done. So what do we do now? Read left to right on this and read left to right on this. So what does Y turn into? Capital B, and make sure you make it capital because in formulas, capitals and lowercase are not the same thing. K does what? Not change. And C and what? H. So that takes care of that. What did I tell you determine meant? The two words, evaluate and determine. What do they mean? Turn to your 6.1 notes. I want to hear it from a student. You know, those notes you're supposed to read. It ain't in the book.
Like all, like numbers.
You're not using my notes?
Evaluate is one number, determine is a number equal to another number.
Yeah, but what do they mean? They both mean the same thing. And I told y'all this. Evaluate and determine mean that you're going to what? Plug and chug. So here it is. There it is right there. Determine. So B, we're finding B is equal to what? Tell me what I plug in first. 2 times 9 times 8. And 9 times 8 is 72, times 2 is 144. So B is equal to 144. Now, the variation right here, what did I tell you variation meant? Did they ask you for the variation? This is a type 2. What did they ask? What do they ask for? Are they asking for a number or are they asking for a formula? They're asking for a formula, Hubert. That's right, an equation. When you see variation, that means they're asking for an equation. So here is the first answer. This is your variation. Variation is B is equal to K, lowercase k, times uppercase C times uppercase H. B is equal to K times uppercase C times uppercase H. That's what you put there. Dang old potassium chloride. All right. No, that would be C. That would be Cl, wouldn't it? I don't know. Anyway. So K times C times H. Good job. You are a winner. And B is equal to 144. And you feel good about yourself. We did one like that. All right, try that one. I'll blow it up for you. Y varies directly as the square of R. Square of means what? R squared, or something squared. Find the variation and find Y when R is equal to 10. Find the variation. Did it say find the solution or did it say find the equation? The equation. That's what variation is, the equation. So what comes first? R? Okay, Y, sorry. Y varies directly, so it's going to be Y is equal to K times what? R. Which one is that one? A, B, C, or D? Well, B is K and R, but square of R, what would it be? D, as in delta. Okay, now it says if Y is equal to 6 and R is equal to 5, oh, this is a type 4 question. Because what can you find if they give you Y and R? What can you find? You can find K. So this is a type 4 question. Thought it was a type 2. Or type 3. So, Y is equal to K times R squared. And then they give you find Y if Y is 6 and R is 5. Now let me ask y'all a question. If you're given Y and R, what is the only thing, just get mad and leave. What is the only thing that you can find? What's the only thing left?
Okay.
Okay. All right, so 6 is equal to K times what? 25. And how do you get rid of multiplying by 25? Divide by 25. So K is equal to what? 6 over 25. Now what did I tell you to do with K after you found it? Plug it back into the what? Original equation, yes, the formula. So Y is equal to 6 over 25 times R squared. Now, what do they give us after that? Remember in number 4? Somebody tell me what number 4 says at the end of the sentence. It says more what?
More info.
And here's your more info. If you've got too many numbers, then chances are there's going to be a comma in there, and it's going to say find blah, 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 when something is something. And that's your more info. That tells you that there is a third part. Here is your first part. Here is your second part. And here is your third part. In other words, you got 3 parts to this question. Finding the equation, then finding K and putting K back in the equation, and then plugging in what? The more info. So Y is equal to 6 over 25 times 10 what? Squared. Now do not reach for a calculator because you do not need one. What is 10 squared? Why do you not need a calculator? That's not rhetorical, I'm asking y'all. Why do you not need a calculator on that?
Because 6 times 9 is 600
$6
divided by 25 is 12.
divided by 12 by quarters. You could do that. But there's even another quicker way. What's the other quick way?
100 divided by 25 is 4 times 6 is
Good
12.
job. 100. How many times will 25 go into 100? And 6 times 4 is? And that's your answer. Y is equal to 24. So the quantity indicated is what? 24. That is a test question. So let's do a nerd, so I can discourage you as much as possible. That's my job, right? See, she's leaving. Told you. Miss Beasley's leaving. I don't blame you. I'd get mad too. I got a drop slip in the room. I'll give it to you when you come back. All right. Find the variation. I'm going to let y'all work on this one because this one is a test question also. The last one was a test question. This two, I could easily pick 18, 19, and 20, and maybe some more, and put them in for one question, and then just pick one. Pick one out of the 5 for you. So, Mr. Lassiter may get this question, and Ms. Walker may get the previous question on her test. So, and it looks like I can pick this one and maybe 4 or 5 more, but it looks like there's some more, I don't know. How many? 23? So there's 3 more on the other side that I could probably pick from. So I'm going to blow it up, and I want y'all to do it, and then I'll do it. Do not get confused by all these Q's. That means the first Q and the second Q. That's all that means. Doesn't mean anything mathematical. Kind of like when the nurse takes your temperature in the morning, and then if you're in the hospital, they take it in the morning, and then they take it in the afternoon. The first temperature, T sub 1, is whatever you got in the morning. T sub 2 is what you got in the afternoon. That's what the sub 2 means. It's not mathematical. Now you're going to be mixing 2 things, jointly and inversely, as the square of. So I can tell you this much, D squared is going to be on the bottom. All right, I'm going to start you off in case you need it. Okay, F varies jointly as Q sub 1 and Q sub 2. So F varies jointly as Q sub 1 and Q sub 2. Everybody with me? That's that right there. So I'm going to take, no, not that. I'm going to take a yellow highlighter, and I'm going to highlight this, and then I'm going to highlight this right here. Everybody with me? This says, and I'm going to highlight it in green, and inversely as to what? And I told you square of meant what? Squared. So inversely means division symbol, right? Over D squared. And I'll take the green highlighter, and I'll highlight this right here. Okay, now, I've just done this part right here. I'm not going to cross it out because I want you to see everything I'm doing. But that's part 1. I've done that part. Now, part 2. How do I know where part 2 is? Well, Part 2 is going to be all the way to the next comma after, there it is, right there. How do I know? Because the next word says find. Find means what? Is that a daggum adjective, verb, or what? Find means verb, right? They want you to do something right here. All right? Here, if is equal to this, that's the same word as determine. That's almost like determine when you have all these guys. And then find says, okay, after you've done that, find. So part 3 is right here. And part 2 is right here. So part 2. So here's part 1. Part 2. What are we going to do? Plug in what? All right, 24 is F. Is equal to Q sub 1 is 10. And Q sub 2 is what? 15. And D is what? 5 squared. You do not need a calculator. So just hold off on the calculator because you don't need one. Why? Because all of them are multiples of what? 5. So you can cancel out and do some calculating with your head. Kind of fire those brain cells up a little bit. And here's what we get. 24 is equal to K. And at 10, so what can I do with this 5 squared? Well, this is 5 times 5, isn't it? So I don't want to change it to 25. Why don't I? Because what can I do with those 2 5s as I write them as 2 5s? 5 times 5. What can I do with those 5s? Exactly. 5 will go into 15. How many times? 3. 5 will go into 10. 2 times. Look at there. 6K is equal to 24. Oh my gosh. K is equal to what? 4. And you did that without a calculator. You'd be surprised on how many people reach for a calculator doing this right here. Now, what do I do with that 4? Well, I take it up here and do what? Plug back in and I get part 3. So F is equal to what? 4 times what? Q sub 1, Q sub 2 over D squared. And I'm going to take my highlighter and I'm going to highlight magenta, this 4, and that's this right here. So I just took that 4 and I plugged it in for that K right there. And the reason I'm being so animated by using the colors is because, well, this is what happens. Y'all sitting here, y'all listen to my notes, and then y'all go home, and what do y'all do when you try to do the homework? You freeze up. So that's why I'm trying to do it in an organized fashion for you. So let's, I'm going to take another color highlighter just for the video and for y'all. I'm going to take this orange highlighter, and I'm going to highlight this part 3 right here. And I'm going to make it smaller, and I'm going to highlight this right here. That's part 2. That's part 3. Find F when Q sub 1 is equal to 6. Q sub 2 is equal to 6. And D is equal to what? 3. So what are you going to do? Well, 3 will go into 6. How many times? 3 will go into 6. What's 2 times 2 times 4? It's a miracle. So your final answer is 16. Now, what are they asking for here in this first question? What are they asking for? What is that? What is variation? That's a 25-cent word for what? Told y'all. For the equation, right? Or the formula. So that would be K times Q sub 1. Oh gosh, how do you write Q sub 1, Hubert? Well, you hit Q, and then you hit sub right here, 1. Then arrow over, get back to the regular cursor, times Q sub what? Sub 2. Hit the right arrow key to get back to the regular cursor, divided by, oh, horse pucky. Hold on. I'm going to have to do it over. You might have to go ahead and hit the fraction bar first. There we go. K times Q sub 1, Q sub 1, arrow over, times Q sub 2, and then click down at the bottom, and then hit D, and then superscript, or exponent, to the second. And you feel good about yourself. What's the quantity indicated for, is that K or F? F, 16? Oh, horse pucky, 16. And you feel good about yourself. Number 22 is a test question. No? Okay. 22 is a test question and 21 is a test question. I'm going to do 22. All right? Write it down. This is for all those people that are important and drive 60 miles an hour in a 35 zone. Because you're important. Assume that the stopping distance of a van varies directly with the square of the speed. A van traveling 20 miles per hour can stop in 30 feet. We're going to change that 24 because that person isn't important. We're going to make an important person out of this person. You know, the important people that go 60. So we're going to change this to 60 because they are important. Because they feel like they need to go 60 in the 35 zone. I love it when the police catch people like that. And if I was a policeman, I'd give them the maximum fine. I ain't got no use for that. So, what do? Stopping distance. What's our stopping distance? Well, you make it whatever you want to. I don't care. S, if you want to, and distance is D. I don't know what they're gonna do, but they don't give you any. No, they don't. They don't give you anything to go by. So that's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna say stopping distance, and you can write it out in words if you want to. Stopping distance is equal to K times what? K times the square of the speed. How's that? And then of course you can make this D is equal to K times what? S squared. And that basically gives us part 1 right there. And that's part 1. Part 2, what do they give us? A van traveling 20 miles per hour. So what is 20 miles per hour? Distance or speed? So 20 goes here. Can stop in what? 30 feet. So that and this divided by 20 squared divided by 20 squared. So we've got, don't use your calculator yet, K is equal to 30 divided by, what's 20 times 20? 400. So what cancels? Zeros cancel, and you're left with 3 over 40 is equal to K. We're still not finished yet. Don't reach for a calculator yet. Let me ask you a question. What's a good number to have in the denominator? Anybody know what a good number to have in the denominator is? Yeah. Besides 1? Nope. 10. Why do I want a 10 in the denominator? Because if you have a 10 in the denominator, then you can write the numerator as a what? Tenths, hundredths, thousandths. I can write it as a tenths, hundredths, thousandths. What is that called? Decimal. Right? Y'all just don't want to talk to me. What's the matter with y'all? Did I make y'all mad or something? Huh? All right, so how in the world can I do this? Well, what would I need to divide this guy by to make 10? Four. So I'm going to divide this by 4. And I'm going to divide this by 4. What's 40 divided by 4? What's 3 divided by 4 in a common decimal that you know about? Now somebody tell me what the answer is. You got 0.75 over 10. What's your rule about, put that up. What's your rule about dividing by 10? Count the number of zeros and move the decimal place one place, or that number of places to the what? To the left, right? So where's your decimal here? How many zeros I got? So I move one place. So your answer is 0.075. Now, take out your calculators. You don't believe me? Take 330 divided by 400 and see what you get. No, 30 divided by 400.
Is 0.075.
It's a miracle. And I did that without a calculator. So 0.075 is K. And part 3, what's part 3? Well, let's take out part 2. That's gone. So I rewrite my problem, except this time I'm going to put what in? K. That's right, class. So D is equal to 0.075 times S squared. Let me ask you a question. Should I even change it to a decimal, or should I leave it as a fraction? You might want to leave it as a fraction because you might be able to use your brain a little bit more and not depend on the calculator. So I'm going to rewrite it. D is equal to, what is it, 3 over 40 times S squared. Now what do they give us for S squared? 60, because you're important. So I'm going to take 60, I'm going to put it over here because I have to fit on a calculator with this. So D is equal to 3 over 40 times 60 squared. That's over 1. Now, of course, 60 squared is what? Well, what's 6 times 6? Okay, and then you add 2 zeros, because when you square 0, that means you add 2 zeros. Because 10 times 10 is 100. So, D is equal to 3 over 40 times 3,600. And what happens to these 40 and 3,600? Well, 40, take out that 0 right there. And how many times will 4 go into 360? Well, 4 times 9 is 36, right? So how many times will 4 go into 360? 9 what? 90. So 90. And somebody tell me what 90 times 3 is? So how many feet can you stop a car if you're going 60 miles an hour? How many feet does it take to stop that car? How long is 270 feet? Is that a long way? That's why I detest and loathe people driving 60 miles an hour in the school zone. Because guess what? If a kid runs out in front of you, they're dead. Because you can't stop at 60 miles an hour. So next time you go through a school zone at 60 miles an hour, now I'm not talking about at 7 o'clock at night. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about 8 o'clock, 7:30 to 8:15 in the morning. That's what I'm talking about. That's why I just don't like people doing that. Question. That is a good test question because you don't have to use a calculator. All right, what kind of questions y'all got? All right, Tuesday will be review day, 6.1 through 6.5. I'll put the test up, we'll go through and do some problems, and I'll answer any questions you got. The next test will be on 6.7, all 6.7. It'll be one test, and I will go over that next Thursday. Why not? You know what I'm talking about. Why you want to be that way? You're going to get 10 points off your next test. Trying to be an SA.